Highs into the 80s this afternoon, but I'm tracking a cold front for tonight. I'll show you how much rain we'll see and how much our temperatures will drop.
Breaking news. The South Carolina Supreme Court overturns the double murder convictions of Alex Murdaugh. The next steps in the case for the man accused of killing his wife and son.
Spending cuts expected. With the new budget deal, cuts could be coming to offset raises for state employees. What could be on the chopping block as lawmakers try to balance the agreement?
Partly cloudy this afternoon with highs climbing to 80 degrees, but a cold front is on the way for tonight. Thanks for joining us. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Chris Lovingit. Yes, things are definitely shifting as the day progresses. And let's go ahead and go to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. She's in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. And show us a little bit of the timeline and how much rain we could get, Elizabeth.
So this is going to be just a beautiful afternoon for us. You can see partly cloudy skies here. So it doesn't even look like anything is on the way, but it is. Right now we have 71 degrees with a southwest wind at 13. And you may notice it starts to feel just a touch humid. It's not bad out there, but I noticed a little bit of it. Our wind is steady at 14, but gusting to 22 in South Hill. So it is likely to be a little bit breezy ahead of the front that comes through overnight tonight. Our high temperature at 4 o'clock around 80 degrees, and then temperatures drop off pretty quickly. If you're going to be out and about this evening, we'll be looking at low to mid 70s. And then about 10 or 11 o'clock, that's when we start to see some showers roll in. It's likely to be a very narrow band of rain that comes through. It just doesn't have a lot of tap of moisture either to the Gulf or the Atlantic. It's out of here by the time we get to the morning commute, and it doesn't, again, look like we're going to end up seeing a whole lot of rain total in the rain gauges. We'll take a look at that and talk about when a real summer pattern returns coming up.
Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Breaking this noon, a court has overturned Alex Murdaugh's murder convictions and ordered a new trial.
And Murdaugh was previously sentenced in the murders of his wife, Maggie, and son, Paul. WRAL's Laura Levine is following this in the WRAL Live Center. I think this caught a lot of people off guard there. Laura, kind of walk us through what you've learned so far this hour.
Yeah, Chris, Renee, South Carolina Attorney General Alan Wilson said his office respects the court decision. However, no one is above the law. All of this playing out in court today in a unanimous ruling from the justices who said the conduct by the court clerk egregiously attacked Murdaugh's credibility by suggesting to jurors his testimony could not be trusted. They also said the trial judge went too far in allowing evidence of Murdaugh's financial crimes into his murder trial. But Murdaugh won't be getting out of prison. The 57-year-old pleaded guilty to stealing around $12 million from his clients and currently is serving a 40-year federal sentence. Still, the state Supreme Court ruling is a win for Murdaugh, who admits to being a thief, liar, insurance cheat, and
A French woman who tested positive for hantavirus is critically ill and being treated with an artificial lung. That's according to a doctor treating her in a hospital in Paris. This happened at the outbreak. This update happened as the outbreak reached 11 total reported cases, 9 of which have been confirmed. 3 people have already died because of the outbreak. Right now, more than a dozen Americans are in the University of Nebraska's National Quarantine Unit. With the evacuation, of all passengers and crew members complete, the cruise ship is sailing back to the Netherlands to be cleaned and disinfected. You can actually find all our coverage regarding the hantavirus outbreak, including updates from North Carolina health leaders, on our WRAL YouTube channel. Just search hantavirus.
A new report shows businesses face rising inflation due to the Iran war, and experts say consumers could be next. It shows the producer price index rose to 6% on an annual basis in April. That's far above economists' expectations. Experts say a big reason is that reduced oil supplies are driving up the cost of shipping. Diesel prices are averaging around $6 in some states. Princess Kate is in Italy on her first overseas trip since being treated for cancer. She is working with the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood. She launched this in 2021 to raise awareness of the importance of early childhood on later life outcomes.
Federal food safety leaders are expanding a recall notice regarding possible salmonella contamination. The risk is linked to dry milk used in a variety of products sold nationwide. 2 types of frozen breakfast pizzas by the brand Mama Cozy have been added to this growing list, and others in the recall include some Utz snacks and Ghirardelli chocolate. A complete list of products and the retailers can be found on the USDA website.
Our weather has been severe clear most of the spring when it's usually very active. In fact, it was on this day last year we had 3 tornadoes in one county. Meteorologist Chris Michaels breaks down the root cause behind the lack of storminess in today's Ask the Meteorologist.
It was around this time last year that we were doing coverage on the tornadoes that had hit in places like Pine Tops and Princeville. They happened within 12 hours of each other and were right down the road. It was 3 in Edgecombe County that happened. That was last year. However, this year is a completely different story. When you look at the total amount of severe weather warnings, tornado, severe thunderstorm, flash flood, from March through May, we've only had 96 across the state of North Carolina, whereas the average is more than 200. We've had 14 tornado warnings this spring. All of those came in March. Last time we went without any in April and May was 2016. Last time we only had 81 severe thunderstorm warnings throughout spring was in 1994, and there's only been 1 flash flood warning so far this spring. Obviously, the drought is going to lead to a severe weather drought, but here's what's causing that. High pressure over the eastern U.S. With that, you get a couple different things. The air sinking beneath it, that has a drying effect, and the clockwise wind around it blocks any storms from moving here and staying out toward the west. So we need the rain. We don't need any additional severe weather. It doesn't look like we see that tonight.
Now, Elizabeth, when we asked that question, why the lack of severe weather so far, people are going, do you want severe weather? Well, no, but we'll take a little rain, right?
We just need the rain. I think we'll take it any way we get it at this point, right? Because we're about to head into a summer pattern, and we hardly ever see widespread rain during a summer pattern. But a cold front will often bring us widespread rain. This one, on the other hand, no, we're not going to get that lucky. You can see just a little bit of rain there in West Virginia. I mean, look how far north the rain is, and there's nothing on the southern edge of this over in Tennessee or really even in Kentucky. And of course, it's not at Virginia yet, but it's just not going to have a tap of moisture anywhere, not from the Gulf, not from the Atlantic. And so it just isn't going to have a whole lot to work with. This is 5 o'clock this afternoon, so the evening commute looks nice and dry. It does look like we'll have that band of rain holding together as it moves into our part of North Carolina between 10 and 11. Right there at midnight, we might see it from, say, Roanoke Rapids through Durham and Raleigh towards Southern Pines. It continues to slide eastward and fall apart, but this is 2:15 from, say, Fayetteville to Clinton to Goldsboro to Rocky Mount. And the last bit of it moves out by around 5 a.m. So when you wake up in the morning and head out the door, you might notice that the streets are damp, but we're not really going to measure very much in the rain gauges out of this. Our Garner Tower shows beautiful conditions out there, some big puffy cumulus clouds, kind of looks like summer outside. Our winds are southwest at 13 miles per hour. Now that we've seen that wind shifting to southwesterly, it is a touch more humid this afternoon. 71 is our current temperature, and we'll see a high of 80. So it should feel pretty comfortable this afternoon. 72 in Pequawave Arena, 73 in Chapel Hill, 71 in Knightdale, 72 up in Wake Forest. Temperatures right now are about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than this time yesterday, and so we should climb on up into the low 80s pretty easily across the area, and that will be warm, but nothing like what's coming our way. Before the big heat settles in, we actually will have our wind shifting to northwesterly for tomorrow, and that will cool things down. We'll see highs right around 70 and a really chilly start to Friday morning. But once we get into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we see much warmer temperatures. We have a good chance of above normal temperatures starting on Saturday and continuing into the weekend. Don't miss this, 43 on Friday morning. Don't let that surprise you. It's going to be really chilly, but I think you'll notice tomorrow that it feels cooler. If you remember in April, we had a number of days in the 80s and 90s with nice low humidity, so it was hot, but it didn't feel quite like summer. Well, that's about to change. We're going to climb into steamy on the muggy meter by Sunday, and that's likely to last well into next week. Our temperature outlook for much of next week is a good chance for above normal temperatures, and you can see that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with highs in the low 90s. It doesn't look like we'll see very much rain tonight, but I'll show you how much it may be and what our chances are next week coming up.
Elizabeth, thank you. Coming up on our news this afternoon, a major employer in our area is expected to shut down. The impacts of Goodyear's closure today at 4.
Plus, experiencing hantavirus. A woman with North Carolina ties survived hantavirus years ago. With the virus back in the news, she talks about one of the worst illnesses she's ever had. Only on WRAL at 5:30. And next at noon, new views. First on WRAL, a look at Raleigh's future Gateway City Plaza. How this high-tech development would anchor a new neighborhood.
And household debt reaches a new high. Coming up, what a new report found as to what's causing this. If you see breaking news, have a story tip, or take video or pictures of the weather where you are, please report it to us. Go to WRAL.com/report it.
First on WRAL, new views of an upcoming plaza meant to anchor a new neighborhood in the city of Oaks.
Alex Littlehale's got a behind-the-scenes look into another big change for a downtown development.
WRAL got a first look at the next phase of a big redevelopment project here in downtown Raleigh. New renderings of an open green space sitting atop an automated parking garage that WRAL has told you about for a couple weeks now.
We've been really inspired by a lot of the programming at places like Moore Square and think we could achieve something similar with having activities.
A self-parking automated garage equipped with EV charging and even the potential to someday house driverless cars. This week, developers shared with WRAL first brand new site plans for the garage's roof, an open concept city plaza centered at the larger City Gateway project.
I think a huge reason why it hasn't been developed up until this point in time is because of the lack of visibility on the site. Really not easy to access this site unless someone's coming to Mira and coming across Kinley Street.
Asher McLaughlin, with one of the development partners' first floor, told WRAL construction is officially underway for the garage underneath. More renderings shared to WRAL show just how exactly the structure will look. Robotic bays housing up to 228 cars, stacked by an automatic kiosk-like system just feet below the plaza. Previous reporting shows Raleigh Mayor Janet Cowell calling the project a potential, quote, catalyst for driverless car conversations.
She called this project a catalyst. Would you say that there's any new developments regarding partnership with a driverless car company?
We don't currently have any contract or agreement in place with a driverless car company, but if and when Raleigh decides it's the time, we'll have the technology ready.
Alex Littlehales, WRAL News.
Developers are extending the small Kinley Street to create another intersection where it meets MLK Boulevard at the base of the new neighborhood. It's expected to finish by year's end, too.
Well, new data shows Americans' household debt has now reached an all-time high. A report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York found U.S. household debt reached nearly $19 trillion in the first 3 months of the year. This includes mortgages, credit cards, and auto and student loans. The increase in overall debt was reportedly driven by higher balances on mortgages and auto loans. Apple is urging its iPhone and iPad users to update their devices to keep them safe. This new update addresses a long list of security flaws. And Apple is also introducing support for what's called end-to-end encrypted RCS messaging. Experts say that hackers are using AI to find new ways to attack phones and tablets, too.
United Airlines will resume service to Venezuela. It's joining American Airlines, which recently restarted its flights there. United says it offered flights between the U.S. and Venezuela for more than 20 years before suspending service in June of 2017. United's daily service will start August 11th if it clears regulators. Amazon is now offering a new 30-minute delivery service. It is called Amazon Now. It can deliver thousands of items from groceries to everyday essentials in 30 minutes or less. Prime members will get a discounted delivery fee.
30 minutes? Okay. Ambitious. We'll see if it works out for them. All right, well, we're talking about new campus plans. As the new site that UNC Chapel Hill is having will move forward, what today's vote could mean for the building process.
Liquor law changes. State lawmakers are discussing possibilities to make liquor more accessible to you. Coming up, what they are looking at changing. And here's a look at the winning North Carolina Education Lottery numbers.
Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Well, it looks like plans to develop Carolina North are moving forward.
The UNC Board of Trustees selected a designer for the site during their meeting today. WRAL's Monica Casey is live at that site. And Monica, this would be a second campus for UNC that would be about a third of the size of the main campus.
That's right. There is a lot of possibility here on this Carolina North site and a lot of questions that go along with it. This is the site of the former Horace Williams Airport right off Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Chapel Hill. Now, today, trustees voted to select a designer. They believe that part of the process will take 12 to 14 months. Multiple subcommittees will provide direction on planning, including one subcommittee focused on students and another on basketball. That's one piece of the puzzle for Carolina North, whether it will be home to a new basketball stadium for UNC. WRAL's Brian Murphy asked UNC's Associate Athletic Director about that earlier this morning.
Carolina North is going forward. There's some incredible plans out there, and that's for university based. But for right now, the arena discussion really has been put on hold while we're trying to address some of the other issues.
Right now, a basketball arena is not included in Phase 1. That first phase of Carolina North does include undergraduate housing for more than 2,000 students, academic research buildings, a hotel, and retail space. Trustees today also discussed the cost associated with this project and how they can better connect this space to the rest of UNC in Chapel Hill, discussing bike and pedestrian options. Live in Chapel Hill, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Monica, thank you. ACC meetings underway in Amelia Island, Florida. It's a chance for athletic directors and coaches to discuss the future of the conference and college sports.
And UNC athletic director in waiting, Steve Newmark, is set to step into that role in full this summer. A lot of issues, though, for him to tackle, including the football program. Last week, WRAL reported a number of high-profile Carolina players had been charged with speeding and or reckless driving. A professor also documented players parking in handicap spots and speeding on campus. WRAL's Pat Welter and Brian Murphy sat down with Newmark this morning to see how the issue is being addressed.
What are you guys doing to kind of educate and try to stop this kind of behavior going forward?
Sure. I think when you have almost 750 student athletes, you provide general training awareness to all of them. And that's something that we do as just part of the normal integration process when our student athletes come on board. Obviously, identified some issues that occurred in the football program last year. Sat with Coach Belichick. I feel comfortable about some of the steps that they've taken internally to try to provide new disciplinary structures, to bring in resources, and we'll continue to work on it because we expect our players to represent the university. They're not just representing themselves for the football program, they've got a broader obligation to represent the university. And so we'll continue to educate and make sure that hopefully we take the right steps to minimize that type of behavior.
And Newmark discussed a variety of topics from the basketball arena, Bill Belichick's job security, to the future of college sports.
I'm Laura Levine following some breaking news here in the WRAL Live Center. Sky 5 flying over a situation here near Briar Creek where we could see City of Raleigh water crews here at the scene of what's being reported as some type of sewage spill. We're still working to gather confirmed information, but again, this is near the Briar Creek area. Of course, Sky 5 has been flying over the scene over the last few minutes, and we're still working to learn more about what exactly is happening. But we do see several of these trucks lining this area. Reports coming in about a possible sewage spill that has gone upstream Briar Creek of Crabtree Lake right now. Again, still working to gather confirmed information about the situation. But if you're driving in near this area, you are being advised to avoid Glenwood Avenue in particular, as crews work to get in and out of this area to respond to this situation. So as soon as we get more details, we'll update you here on WRAL.
Certainly, we're curious to know if the Department of Environmental Quality has any information on this. Thank you, Laura. Well, in the next 30 minutes, leaders will hold a press conference to address the mental health of teenagers in school. A bipartisan group of lawmakers plans to introduce a bill that would increase mental health first aid training in schools. It would provide a little more than $1 million to go toward teacher training. Researchers say this bill could be the first step in a complex solution, and today's press conference is at 1 p.m. New today, researchers say students are in what's called a reading recession. New data released today shows North Carolina is still about a half a grade level behind where it was in reading before the COVID pandemic, and that's also true for most U.S. states. At the same time, North Carolina is one of many states that's overhauling how it teaches young children to read. The state is doing it to align with decades of research on how people learn to read. State officials say more work is coming, especially for second and third graders. For more on North Carolina's results and what the state's doing right now, you can visit the education section of WRAL.com.
A proposed budget from Durham's county manager includes a $10.9 million increase for Durham Public Schools. The school system says this would be the 6th consecutive year of increased funding, over $10 million. The proposal still has to be approved. The superintendent says he appreciates the partnership with the county manager and county commissioners and called on state lawmakers to make sure they support schools as well.
Well, we are learning more about a push to change state liquor laws, including where you get your adult drinks. One proposal would allow canned cocktails to be sold in grocery stores. Actual bottles of liquor would still only be available in ABC stores, even if that change passed. Another change would allow ABC stores to open on Sundays for the first time ever. We actually reported last week about a separate push to fully privatize liquor sales in our state, but lawmakers we heard from yesterday agree that is not up for debate.
We are hearing from the Fayetteville mayor after the announcement that the Goodyear tire plant will be closing. 1,700 people will lose their jobs when it closes in 2027. Mayor Mitch Colvin says economic development officials informed him of the impending closure yesterday morning. And we asked him what this means for Fayetteville.
1,700 jobs is a lot. It has been a pillar of our community back when it was Kelly Springfield, and it's always been one of the probably top 5 or 10 employers. What we need to do now is to be very thoughtful about, they've given us a year or so to train and to plan as to how we can reactivate that site.
Mayor Colvin said the city will look at ways to help workers find new jobs before the plant closes in about a year. Our Teacher of the Week works at the same middle school that she attended growing up in Wake Forest. We'll show you why she relates so well to her students. And sensitive documents exposed in Wake County schools. It's a vulnerability, raising questions about the security of student records across the country. Coming up, how teachers are partly to blame and what schools districts can do about it. For news, traffic, and weather of the day, make sure to download the WRAL News app. Our Teacher of the Week was born and raised in Wake Forest and now teaches at the middle school she attended growing up.
Yeah, WRAL's Ken Smith is at Wake Forest Middle School to recognize this very deserving English teacher.
Make sure you're using the word, okay, in a way that tells me you understand the meaning of the word.
Sarah Holt can't imagine doing anything else but educating young minds in her 7th grade classroom at Wake Forest Middle.
How can you extend that sentence?
Ms. Holt says being a teacher was her dream ever since she was a little girl, and that motivation was rooted in her family tree.
My mom was a huge inspiration. I had a grandmother who was a music teacher. My sister was a teaching fellows for French.
Ms. Holt is known for meeting students where they are in their academic journey.
That's awesome. I liked how you used the quotation from page 79.
Oftentimes with an encouraging word or being patient and kind, creating a safe learning environment.
When a child finally picks up reading and comprehension, writing essays for the first time, because they were working, school at home, that's been really rewarding.
Ms. Holt is especially grateful when she connects with her students by helping them equate literature to their daily lives, like the novel The Outsiders, which they're currently reading.
Having them in my class and learning things each day helps me build a relationship with them, and especially when they share things with me, what they've done.
Ms. Holt,
you are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. Give her a big round of applause, class. Congratulations.
If you would like to nominate a teacher, you can always go to WRAL.com and enter Teacher of the Week in the search box.
Still to come, student information exposed. WRAL learned about the problem from a Wake County student who found the files themselves, what they included, and what the school district is doing about it.
And Help Brainstorm. Coming up, how you can get involved with naming the new sand kittens at the North Carolina Zoo. A relatively unknown security vulnerability led to sensitive records being exposed in Wake County schools. In fact, WRAL spoke to a student who said he stumbled upon special education records, student IDs, and other information while searching for a homework assignment. We had to turn to WRAL education insider Emily Walkenhorst to get us more on this. So, Emily, explain how these records became exposed and what Wake County is doing about it. I mean, how did that student accidentally access sensitive records?
So he was just in his Google Drive. He was looking for a file that had a name he didn't remember. He had called it something that was just unrelated to his assignment. So he's doing all these searches, and eventually one turns up. Every file anyone in the school district had made viewable and searchable.
Wow.
special education records, medical information, attendance records, a bunch of other stuff. It turns out teachers were trying to share these files with coworkers who needed access to them, but they didn't know that making them viewable to anyone with the link and searchable, that they could actually be viewed by anyone with a school email account.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you don't know that, then of course that's what would happen as a result. So, I mean, we're talking about some pretty serious records this student was able to access. So what did Wake County say when you asked them about this?
They started looking into it. They originally said they'd gotten a couple of notices from people asking them to fix access to special education records. And I told them the student noted a lot more records were available. So eventually they told me they wrote code that basically scours Google Drive, looks for records with sensitive information. If those records are viewable and searchable, it automatically deletes them.
See, now I'm tempted to ask, I mean, this isn't isolated to Wake County though, right?
Right. This security vulnerability is known to cybersecurity consultants and even hackers, and they think schools really aren't aware of it. The Clark County School District in Las Vegas got hacked recently by someone who knew of the vulnerability and threatened to make those sensitive records public. I talked with Google and Microsoft about the education software they provide schools, and they had some tips for what schools and users can do to keep data safe.
I know it's a different platform, but I'm just thinking about the, was it the Shiny Hunters hack that just happened a little bit ago with Canvas? So, ooh, okay, not great, but it looks like they're looking into it. All right, that's at 6 o'clock. Of course, we'll dive into it a little bit more later. You can also check our story on WRAL.com. Thank you, Emily.
Wake County Public Health will be offering back-to-school vaccines this summer. North Carolina law requires specific vaccines for kindergarten, 7th, and 12th grade. The first clinic is next Tuesday at Southern Regional Center in Fuquay Arena. It will be from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. UNC Health is expanding on our coast. There are plans to build a new hospital in Wilmington. It would be on a 62-acre site on South 17th Street and Shipyard Boulevard. If the state approves the plan, the hospital could open in 2030. Leaders say adding another hospital could bring more doctors, services, and choices for patients.
Renee, we do want to point our viewers' attention to the beautiful day we have outside. That's why I love the WRAL Camera Network. We have different viewpoints where you can see the lovely day. Right now, we're looking at downtown Apex, and it's shaping up to be a good afternoon.
It really is going to feel nice, and I feel like everybody needs to get outside and enjoy it, both today as well as tomorrow and Friday, because after that, it's going to be hot, and it's going to be humid. It's going to feel like summer, and maybe we'll get a break the following weekend. It does look like we have the chance of some rain potentially for Memorial Day weekend, but it's definitely lovely in Apex right now. A nice southwest wind at 13, so the wind started to pick up. It's a bit breezy out. 71 is our current temperature. And we take a look at our next weather maker, and it doesn't have hardly any rain associated with it at the moment. The models are still showing some of that rain getting picked up and pulled into that front, but most of the energy with this is with the low that's way up near the Great Lakes. So it's going to cut into our rain totals. It is likely to arrive right around or after 11 o'clock, depending on where you are. The rest of this afternoon, it looks nice and quiet. That's 5 o'clock. That's 7 o'clock this evening. Here comes the front by around 11. It's in some of our north and western counties. By midnight, it's starting to push into Wake County. By 2 o'clock, it's in our eastern counties, and by 5 o'clock, it's done. But the amount of rain that we see with this is really going to be minimal. This version of our rainfall forecast shows less than 1/10 of an inch. So that is unfortunate because we definitely need lots and lots of rain. After that, we are dry Thursday and Friday. Notice 20% chance Saturday and Sunday. Well, we could add Monday and Tuesday to that, but that's our summer pattern where it's really hot and it's really humid. And we see those big towering cumulus clouds, and a few of those will bust out an isolated shower or thunderstorm. And a few people see the rain, but that's not the kind of rain that helps us really at all in terms of the drought. That's the pattern that we'll see for the weekend. I kept green on Saturday and Sunday, but one thing that you will want to watch for is the heat in the afternoon. It's really going to be hot, especially Sunday into Monday and Tuesday, as those highs will be in the low 90s. And that with the muggy meter being way up there into steamy, we're really going to start to feel it. This is a look at precipitation outlook for the next 6 to 10 days, and that does go out toward Memorial Day weekend. The models are hinting at some rain for Memorial Day weekend, so we'll kind of keep our eye on that. Right now, we're just desperate for rain, though. We need it still at least 11 to 15 inches to get us out of the drought. Tomorrow's going to be cool, much cooler than this afternoon at 71, and then Friday morning 43. But that's the last chilly morning that we'll have. Once we get into the weekend, our overnight lows are in the 60s, and those highs are hot, and it is sticky in the low 90s.
Elizabeth, thank you. A big catch coming up. Where in North Carolina this gator was captured and how much police say it weighed.
Ooh, that's a big nope for me. And hey, here's a look at your winning Mega Millions numbers right here on your screen. 17, 32, 35, 40, 47, and the gold Mega Ball is 17.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today.
Well, this afternoon, State Attorney General Jeff Jackson will be giving an update on a case involving a wedding photographer who was the focus of 5 on Your Side reports. Holly Christina Photography, you may recall, is accused of accepting payment for pictures they never provided. More than 200 brides filed complaints with the State Department of Justice, and you can look for updates during our evening newscast starting at 4.
Disgraced attorney Alex Murdaugh will get a new trial in the killings of his wife and son. Today, the South Carolina Supreme Court overturned those murder convictions. The High Court claims the original trial was improperly influenced by comments made by the county clerk. Murdaugh is accused of killing his wife Maggie and son Paul in 2021. He has always denied it. He did admit to dozens of financial crimes and is serving time for those.
North Carolina Republican lawmakers are celebrating a budget deal that includes raises for state employees and tax cuts. This comes after a year-long standoff, and to cover rising costs in a fast-growing state, lawmakers are also expected to make cuts, and those could be vacant positions across state government. Those discussions are still happening, and you can count on WRAL's NC Capitol team to stay on any developments on air and online. Well, the countdown to Raleigh's Wide Open Festival kicked off with a bit of a bang.
Last night, a free lineup announcement was held at Bowstring Pizza and Brew Yard. It's part of the weekly Beer and Banjos concert there. The Raleigh Wide Open Festival will be held October 2nd through 3rd on Fayetteville Street. A kickoff celebration will be held on October 1st at NC State's campus.
All right, we do want to show you something here. Police in Sunset Beach on our coast helped remove a 400-pound, nearly 11-foot-long alligator from the road. No, thank you. The North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission joined to help capture it and relocate it. And police estimate that gator is around maybe 25, 30-ish years old. And they say right now is peak alligator mating season. So if you're on the coast, watch out for one of these.
Just leave it to the professionals. Yeah. The North Carolina Zoo wants your help naming its sand cat kittens.
Oh.
Look at these babies. A boy and a girl. They were born on February 26th. The North Carolina Zoo has a list of names for you to choose from for each kitten, and they are inspired by languages and places from the regions where sand cats naturally live in the wild. You can find a link to the poll on WRAL.com. Just search sand kittens. By the way, the poll closes on May 21st at 5 p.m., so get your votes in.
And since we're already talking about cute animals, let's go ahead and bring us to today's Pet of the Day from Cat Angels Adoptions.
This is Kodiak. He's a 5-month-old black kitten. Kodiak loves playtime, chasing toys, has endless energy. He is sweet and full of personality, and he is looking for a home filled with cuddles and laughter. If you're interested in Kodiak, you can fill out an application on the Cat Angels website.
Well, coming up on WRAL.